Good afternoon, Harlem and Harlems of the world. I'm Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. Harlem Network News started at the onset of COVID, and we're still here. Very critical at the onset of COVID. Folks were walking around Harlem saying, "I'm Black, I can't get it." So at that point, we've been thinking about doing a Harlem Network for a long time, but we knew we had to jump in the deep water, and it's been quite a journey, really important and critical to assure that Harlem and the Harlems of the world are informed. We are growing. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, HarlemNetworkNews.com, Clubhouse, and very critical to reach as many people as we can. We're looking to live stream and just trying to see what the venues are where we can reach the majority of the people, because the work that we are doing is critical. We'll come back to that. But today I have the honor of having here with me Jotaka Eaddy. She is the founder of Win with Black Women, and I'm a member. Please remember that hashtag Win with Black Women. She also is the founder and the CEO of Full Circle Strategies, which is a social impact consulting firm committed to advancing transformation, transformative change, and global impact. So without further ado, also Jotaka Eaddy was on MSNBC and all over social media this week, just following up because Win with Black Women wrote a letter to President Biden and Vice President Harris demanding that Brittney Griner be freed. So Jotaka, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, whose you are, and a bit about that letter. And I know that everything that you've been doing has led to this moment, and we're having some great impact. So it's an incredible thing. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Terri, for inviting me and having me in this very powerful space with the Harlem News Network. It is so great to be with you. So your first question of who am I always start with, I am an organizer, I'm a strategist, I'm a connector, I'm a child of South Carolina. I always have to go back to truly whom I am. I'm a daughter of South Carolina. I'm a daughter of a beautiful, praying mother and father. I grew up constantly poured into by Black women in my community, and I try to take that with me everywhere I go. And so throughout my life, whether it's been in business or throughout my personal work and or the work that I do to advocate every single day on behalf of people who are marginalized and pushed to the margins, it is with that spirit that I try to take with me a spirit of advocacy, a spirit of activism, and most importantly, a spirit of power that can be yielded by our people. And that's who I am and whom I belong.
Okay. And you certainly have put that to work in the most recent Win with Black Women and your company. I want to talk more about what your journey has been, because at Harlem Network News, we really pride ourselves with being a voice and drumbeat of Harlem. We also value knowledge, and it's important as our community, intergenerational, is looking at what we're doing, that they understand the path of how people got there, and they understand the concept and the principle of Sankofa. You got to know where you've come from to be where you are, to move forward, as well as if you get through that door, hold it open for somebody else. And Jotaka, you certainly exemplify that behavior. But tell us a bit about what's right now hot spot in the news. And that is our sister, you know, our American, our US gold medal winner, Brittney Griner, being held in a prison in Russia since February. What's happening with that, and what led to Win with Black Women to mobilize and get this letter out and be responded to? Because that's a strong point. So if you could share a bit about that and your MSNBC experience. And we're glad to have you here because this is Harlem Network News, and I'm Terri Wisdom, and I'm here with Jotaka Eaddy on behalf of Win with Black Women. But what we like to do is do a little bit more in depth. Jotaka was on MSNBC. You can go to Win with Black Women, Facebook, Instagram, and see that interview, but it's 2 minutes. And a lot of times in the 2 minutes, people don't really understand what's happening. And most of the news is a 2-minute clip, a soundbite. So we try to go a little bit deeper because we want to have people understand and we want to mobilize them to action. So if you could share a bit about this letter, the MSNBC interview, and if in fact there are any updates, because right now, you know, major on the news, they're talking about January 6th and the hearings. So I don't know what's happening with Brittney. So thank you.
Yeah, first of all, Terri, I think it's important to step back and just really share a little bit more about Win with Black Women. So Win with Black Women is a network of Black women leaders that is representative of Black women from every sector in society. It's intergenerational. It is a network of growing network of nearly 4,000 Black women leaders. It is Black women in sports and entertainment, Black women in movement, Black women in civil and human rights, Black women in education, Black women in corporate America. You name the sector of society, there are Black women that are representative in and as a part of Win with Black Women. And we gathered and came together 2 years ago out of a necessity and a desire and really a conviction amongst Black women across the country to come together in our personal capacities to speak out against what we saw as racism and sexism that was in the political narrative as it related to who was going to be the next vice president of the United States. And we all saw the systematic character assassination of every Black woman that was being named. And we all decided to come together to lend our collective voices to speak out against that racism and sexism. Since then, we have continued to meet nearly every Sunday, and we have decided to come together at pivotal moments in our country to raise our collective voices around critical issues. We gather around 3 major goals. Number 1, continuing to speak out against the racism and the sexism, regardless if it's in the political narrative or whether it's in entertainment, wherever there is racism and sexism lodged against a Black woman, we lend our collective voices to speak out against it. Number 2, making sure that we work within our personal capacities to elect Black women to elected office up and down the ballot box. So whether it is the highest office in land or if it is local community elected positions, because we firmly believe that it's important to have the voice of Black women in these elected positions, because it goes to our third point and third goal is really working to elevate the image, the positive image of Black women, but also the agenda of Black women, and that particularly led by Black women-led organizations. So that's really the heart of what we do at Win with Black Women. I like to think of it as a collective love letter from Black women to ourselves, because firmly what I know is true is that we as Black women, we win when we are connected. We win when we are united. We win when we know about each other. We win when we're able to tap into our individual and collective influence. And we know that America wins with us. And so that is really the heart of who Win with Black Women is and what it is that we do. I mean, to your question about the why, we decided to send this very important letter to President Biden and Vice President Harris on Brittney Griner It was that, again, we found ourselves at a critical moment in this country where there was a need for Black women across generations and across sectors to come together to lend our voice, to leverage our influence, to make it very clear where we stood on this issue. Is that, one, we felt and are very clear that Brittney Griner is deserving of the very best that America has to offer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Number two, that Brittney Griner is wrongfully detained and she is being used as a pawn by the Russian government. And number three, that we had called on this administration to do everything within its power to make a deal to bring Brittney home. I think it's also important to add that our letter is actually a part of a long sort of list and legacy of work that has been done and mostly led by Black women around Brittney Griner. It's important to note women in our network like Terry Jackson and the WNBA Players Association and the work that they have been leading. Women like Angela Rye, who has leveraged her media platform to raise this issue. Women like Karen Finney, who offers her brilliance, and Rachel Norlander, who's offered her brilliance in supporting around this, and women like Coach Don Staley, who have really been a moral call to action for this country around Brittney Griner. And so for many weeks, Black women have been at the helm, speaking up and advocating for Brittney. And it was important for us as a collective to really speak as a united collective of more than 1,150 Black women,
wow.
Ranging in Black women that were coaches, educators, professors, corporate leaders, entertainers, all coming together to send this very clear message to the president and the vice president that Black women stand in solidarity with Brittney, that we firmly believe that she is wrongfully detained, and that we called on them to do everything in their power to make a deal to bring Brittney home.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And I think one of the beauties and, excuse me, power of Win with Black Women, and I'm Terri Wisdom, this is Harlem Network News, and we're talking with Jotaka Eaddy, who is the founder of Win with Black Women, that just sent that letter to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, really demanding that everything be done to bring Brittney Griner home. But one of the beauties of Win with Black Women is that it's intergenerational and it's intersectional. And that just means it's made up of everybody. And the loving part is that we're all there, and those that are high and low and every kind of way are all together. Everybody can get the information. And it's also beautiful because it is women from all over the country. And we know that we're in a what I call the technical revolution. You know, we had the Industrial Revolution, but there are some assets to a Zoom or whatever the platform is, so that that many women can get together and share what's going on. And, you know, one of the things with Harlem Network News we feel is so critical is to get that cross-pollination of information for what we call Harlem and the Harlems of the world, because I here in Harlem may not really know what's going on in South Carolina. And people that are not here in Harlem don't understand the war and the battle that we're fighting. The initiatives that are going for getting out the vote and, you know, people fighting voter suppression. We have another suppression going on here in Harlem. Only 2% of the people in New York City, not even Harlem, voted in the primaries. So, you know, these are things where it needs to be a special lens to show what is going on. So, you know, the initiatives that you've taken, and Jotaka, I don't want to assume that everybody knows who is Brittney Griner. You know, who is she? How did she end up in Russia? Because I understand she's won a Russian Cup. She's, you know, 2 times gold medal Olympic winner. So why, you know, because some people say, well, what was she doing in Russia? Like, why'd she go there if the Ukraine thing is happening? So can you explain, if you know a little bit about that background? And also, if President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have been reaching out to Brittney's wife, Sherelle, because I know that was one of the asks as well. So
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. And I think it's important for folks to step back and let's first look at Brittney as a human.
Yes.
First of all, she is a humanitarian. She is a wife. She is a person that has long been an advocate. I think that's also a part of the story of who Brittney Griner is. Brittney Griner is someone that has even engaged with Win with Black Women. As we were, looking at our network and actually doing some back end work, what we found was that Brittney Griner back in September of 2020 signed up to receive and to get information from Win with Black Women because she was actually lending her platform to Win with Black Women to speak up in support of issues impacting Black women. So I think that just shows you a bit about who she is outside of being a player. I think a lot of folks have been talking about Brittney as a player, but she's a devoted wife. And she's also been someone who has lent her platform to raise issues around key issues, whether it's been police brutality and or in advocacy of our sister Breonna Taylor and others. Let's start there. She's also what all of us know. She is an Olympian. She is a WNBA All-Star, but she's also someone that is beloved in Russia. She is, a three-time Russian champion. She's a EuroLeague champion. She's received the Russian Cup. She has a large fan base in Russia. And Terri, you asked this very important question. Well, why was Brittney Griner in Russia? I mean, it really goes back to the issue of pay equity. I mean, let's peel it back to this issue of pay equity. Where there is not the same level of pay equity amongst the WNBA and NBA players and just women in sports overall. And so often you find women players, but also male players as well, but largely women in sports are playing for other sports teams. And so Brittney for many years have been playing with the Russian basketball league. And through that is why she was going back and forth to Russia. But she also, as it's known, is a champion there. She's loved by the fans there. And so when people say, well, why was she there? Well, she was there because she was working. That is why she was there. And so often that is the circumstances that many of athletes in the US and particularly women athletes, they have to actually use that as an alternative to create a sense of equity in pay to survive and to live in this country.
Okay, thank you for that. I think it is a very critical point as we look at the inequities for pay for women, and we the question, and these are questions from our audience. She's gone back and forth so many times. Like, what happened that she was targeted now for the oil or cannabis oil or whatever it was that she had? And would that have been something that she would have been targeted for in the US airports? And, I know that this is a legal matter, but it also looks like a greater political matter as we now step to try and get the president and the negotiators to get over there and bring her home. So if you're able to speak to that.
Yeah, I certainly, I can't speak to the details of the legal proceedings of this,
of
but
course.
what I can speak to is what the US government has made very clear is that Brittney is classified as wrongfully detained. That is what the Win with Black Women signers of that letter, we echo that. This administration has been very clear that she is wrongfully detained. And that is a very important classification to note and for us to really center on is that, we believe that she's been used as a pawn by the Russian Federation and that it is important that we bring her home as soon as possible and immediately because she is in what we believe is intolerable circumstances and conditions. This is a woman that has, throughout her trial, has been traveling 5 hours. At one point, she's in a cage. That she is a tall woman. And she speaks English. And so there's been language barriers in terms of needed translation. So let's also look at the human conditions for which she has been in, the isolation that she has been in, the inability to truly connect with her family back here in the US. But ultimately, despite all of that, I would say not just despite, but in addition to all of that, what is very clear, and the US government has made extremely clear, is that she is wrongfully detained. And that is why we think it is important for this administration to continue to do everything within its power to bring her home and to ensure that they are continuing on the commitment that the president made to Sherelle Griner, her wife, when he did make a phone call to her. President and the vice president were a part of a phone call to Sherelle Griner, in which the president shared that he was extremely touched by Brittney's own letter to him, asking him not to forget her. And the president and the vice president echoed that she has absolutely not forgotten, and it is a priority of this administration to do what we need to do to bring her home.
Okay, so that is phenomenal. And has President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, have they reached out to Win with Black Women in the response to the letter? I understand that they have. So if you could, just share a little bit about that, because that's an amazing power move as well.
Yes, I think it's important that, often when there are these communications to the president and the vice president, one may think like, well, do they actually read it? Do they actually pay attention to it? And yes, we sent our letter to the president and the vice president. We immediately heard back from their offices at the highest levels. And there was actually also phone calls and then a follow-up briefing with some members who signed the letter to provide more information and to be available to have additional information on what they're doing. Of course, there's a lot of information that is not public, that is classified.
Right, of course.
And we respect that. We respect that this is a very sensitive topic. But what was echoed and what we do know is that this is of high priority of this administration, that this administration understands that not only the 1,150 Black women who signed this letter, but the civil rights leaders who signed and sent a letter, the Congressional Black Caucus members, the members of the WNBA, and the more than 270,000 Americans who signed a petition at wearebg.org, that they understand that there is a large sector and group of Americans who are very clear that Brittney deserves to be home, and that we want this country to do everything within its power to make a deal to bring her home.
Okay, so amazing, just what the reach has been and the initiatives with We Win with Black Women. And, I know that there is another prisoner there, I believe last name Ware, and let's shined up more light on that as well. But I understand the focus, is to bring Brittney Griner home. Now, we understand this is Harlem Network News, and I'm Terri Wisdom, and I'm here with Jotaka Eaddy of Win with Black Women, and we were speaking about the initiatives to bring Brittney Griner home. However, I know that Win with Black Women has done other campaigns, like you said, being involved with, getting a group who we're going to choose for vice president. And also, most recently, very active with the choosing and support for Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. So if you could speak a little bit of that. And, I think that just seeing her going through the trial or tribulation or whatever it was to become that, we saw what the attack on a Black woman can be. We saw what the attack was, you know, we saw Senator Cory Booker stand strong for her. So if you could just speak a little bit about Win with Black Women and that initiative and that letter. Thank you.
Yes, I smile because there's just so much joy in the fruit of the collective work that Win with Black Women does alongside so many Black women-led organizations, including the Black Women's Leadership Initiative and collective, other Black women organizations like our good sister Melanie Campbell and the Black Women's Roundtable, Power Rising, and so many Black women organizations that came together both to make very clear during the 2020 presidential election that it was time for a Black woman to be on this presidential ticket, that, you know, for so many years, Black women, we have carried elections on our backs. For many years, we have been the heart and the soul of the Democratic Party. And it was time for us to see a reflection of our work and ourselves and our leadership and our brilliance on that ticket. And that was really the heart and soul behind that work. Not only the advocacy to advocate for a Black woman on that ticket. And it's important to note that Win with Black Women was a part of a long legacy of work. You talk about Sankofa. We would not be in a position to be who we are had it not been for, let's talk about Harlem in New York, if it not been for a Shirley Chisholm.
Absolutely,
really
absolutely.
If it not had been for a Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who laid the foundation, or a Barbara Jordan, or for a Hazel N. Dukes, who is a part of Win with Black Women.
Yes, I served on the community board 10 with, we call her Ma Dukes. So. Yes,
I call her Mama Dukes too. I always like to let folks know the Dr. Hazel N. Dukes,
Dr. Hazel,
affectionately known to me and so many, and to this network as Ma Dukes. But if it wasn't for the work of those women who really laid the foundation, the lineage for which we stand upon, and then those that came, like the Mignon Moores and the Donna Brazils and the Bishop Daughtries, who really becomes that bridge for us as Black women to gather and to raise our voices in this political spectrum. That is how we are able to really be able to do the work that we do. So it's important for me always to make it very clear that Win with Black Women is a continuum of a long legacy of work of Black women coming together, speaking up and standing in the gap, and really making strides and impact. And so that's what we were able to do in 2020. And we took the momentum for what we did in 2020 to add on to what we knew was time for a Black woman to be on the US Supreme Court. You know, it had been far too many years without a Black woman on the US Supreme Court. And we look at justice after justice after justice after justice, and there's no representation of Black women. And so we were proud to stand in solidarity with the Black Women's Leadership Collective, with Sister SCOTUS, and the sisters that were really vocal for many years about the need for a Black woman to be on the US Supreme Court, and to actually see the fruit of that work. And some of the work that we were collectively able to do, let's look at the hashtag that we all collectively utilize around that. Confirm Judge Jackson. That hashtag, in the short period of time of that campaign, garnered 713 million organic impressions.
Wow.
Nothing paid, not one dime paid to do that, but that was what we were able to do. And let's look at, you know, Win with Black Women. That hashtag now has garnered nearly 1 billion organic impressions. We've been able to galvanize around Win with Black Women, not only around politics, whether it's been the 2020 election or whether the confirmation of now Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yes, Justice Ketanji.
Yes, I know. I can say it all day long, right?
Yes.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
It's a prayer.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Or the work around the work to lend our solidarity with our sister Brittney Griner, but also around Black women in media and entertainment. The work that we most recently did with our sister Felicia Henderson, a Black woman who is a talented writer, showrunner, and producer in Hollywood, who just produced the Netflix series First Kill. And that is a show where she intentionally elevates and is very, very intentional about how Black women are portrayed in that media. And that work was really around not just simply supporting this Black woman who is a show producer, but also how do we actually support and make very clear the importance of having Black women in these pivotal roles, because when they're in these roles, they're intentional about how we are portrayed. They're intentional about how Black women are hired in these roles. And so that is really the goal there. And as a result of some of the work that we've been able to do, at one point that show had fallen out of the top 10 in the US. We did an activation and a Twitter space conversation that now more than 25,000 people from around the world have tapped into. And the very next day, the show went back in the top 10. That is just an example, not to just speak to Win with Black women, because I think it's far greater than that, but it's what can be done of Black women.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, it's very empowering. And I still go back to this technical revolution that we're in. And like you said, the impressions and what can be done and the analytics, and Harlem Network News is right there. Thank you for coming onto Harlem Network News. This helps to make a difference, and it shows real solidarity. You know, when I asked, because once I saw you on MSNBC, I said, okay, we got to reach out. And you said, sure. You know what I'm saying? But that is how we, as Black women, as Black people, as people of color, that's the hand-to-hand combat that is going to really help us to win. And we're on that track to win. What are some of the other initiatives that are going on? I know we're almost out of time. I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, a new media platform. And I'm here with Jotaka Eaddy of Win with Black Women. With the Roe v. Wade situation, because it's just so interesting that as soon as we got to say her name in the good way, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, now we got hit with the Roe v. Wade being pulled. So what initiatives are on the pipeline for Win with Black Women and Roe v. Wade, and also the violence that is happening in our communities from the police and exploding from within? You know?
I think it's important to just, for us as a Win with Black Women, is it goes to a part of one of our goals is elevating the leadership and the agenda of Black women-led organizations. And it's important to note that in this moment, Planned Parenthood is led by an amazing, brilliant woman who is a Black woman in Alexis McGill Johnson. Emily's List is led by a woman who is a brilliant Black woman in LaFonza Butler. We also see Black women in the reproductive justice space, Black women like our sister Marcella Howell and other sisters, that Sister Song, and other Black women who are on the front lines of this work, Dr. Joya, that are on the front lines of this work on a day-to-day basis. And so it's important for this network, because those are women who are all part of this network. I think the beauty of Win with Black Women is that you could go from, you know, a Felicia Henderson who has like, you know, one of the top 10 shows on Netflix globally, to a sister like LaFonza Butler, to what we call our own firecracker, Donna Brazile, all in a space together, and the wisdom and the sage of Mama Dr. Hazel N. Dukes, all together. And it is important for this network to continue to be a space for us to learn from and take leadership from those Black women leaders, and to lend our collective voice to be not only vocal at the national level, but more importantly, in the local communities where many
local
communities
matter.
are. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation that is out in the world right now about, access to abortion care. There's a need, number one, for women to have information about access to care. Number two, there's a real critical need for us all to understand and really recognize that the power is at the state level. That is where the power is shifting, and it's going to be incredibly important for us to make sure that we are holding state legislatures accountable, that we are protecting state legislatures, that where we know we have vote margins to continue to uphold and have access to abortion care. And then it's going to be the work in November to make sure that not only our Congress is reflective of an ability for us to be able to codify Roe versus Wade, because right now we don't have the votes. But if we are able to vote into office a Congress that can have the voting and the numbers that we need, then we can codify Roe versus Wade, and also making sure that we are electing those at the state and local level in office that is going to uphold and protect abortion care and reproductive rights.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I know next on the agenda, I'm Terri Wisdom. This is Harlem Network News, and I'm here. We're getting ready to just wind down and out with Jotaka Eaddy of Win with Black Women. But I know the Stop the Violence and Stop the Killing, is something that we've got to take hold of. And, here in New York, it's an everyday thing. And a lot of it has to do with disparities, economics, drugs, and also legislation in terms of the gun laws, so there's a lot going on. Quickly, it's Win with Black Women. Where do the men fit in, and where does the greater body of the world fit in?
I love that question, Terri, because all of my guy friends, they're like, "Win with Black women. Do you not like Black men?" Actually, we love Black men.
Of course.
We love our brothers. Black women, we believe that when you win with Black women is, I think, symbolically, we carry with us our communities, we carry with us our families. It's important that people understand that when we win with Black women, our communities win, our men win. We want to stand with our brothers. We've always been in solidarity with our brothers, and they are our allies, and we actually need them. I think if you look historically at some of the historical dividers in our country, one of the great dividers was the systemic and the strategic divide of the Black family, to pit Black men against Black women. And I think that it
started after we came across the water.
Exactly. And it's important for us not to dive into that narrative and or to add on to it. But, it is perfectly, we can be in a position to advocate for and center Black women while also loving Black men. And I think it's a false narrative to think that you can't do one without the other. And so there is a space for Black men. We've had Black men, as you know, Terri, a part of our Win with Black Women Sunday night calls. We've had some brothers. We've worked in solidarity with our brothers. We've advocated on behalf and with our brothers, and will continue to do so. So there is a space for allyship with our brothers, and to win with Black women does not mean at all that it does not mean that we part from our Black men. If anything, I think the notion of winning with Black women brings us closer to our brothers.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And let that circle be unbroken. We're all mothers, partners, wives, daughters of Black men. So let that circle be unbroken. Let us stand. And what about the other aspects of the community that are not Black? How does that go?
We believe in allyship. During the 2020 election, we were in allyship and continue to be in allyship with white women who share our values. We know that there are other women that are not only white women, are Latinx women, Asian women, just women across the board who share our values. And that's something that is important to us. and all communities that share our values. We center Black women at Win with Black Women. It is a space by and for Black women, but we often and will continue to work with all people who share our values. And that's really what it boils down to. And Shirley Chisholm, she often said this, and I think she said it best, that, there are no permanent enemies, there are no permanent friends, there is simply permanent interests.
Yes, I think this is Terri Wisdom, and I think I know there's a couple of clips and statements on your Facebook page from Shirley Chisholm. So we all need to look back and study. I looked at the clip where she was just telling us, stand strong, be confident. So like you said, we're standing on the shoulders of many people. This just didn't manifest itself. We're gonna go, but I just want you to tell us about you, Silicon Valley. I saw some quote from Forbes magazine, saying you were the Pope, of Silicon Valley, and you were in the C-suite. And what does all that mean? Okay, because a lot of us are laymen and we're really trying to catch up. So if you could share what that actually means.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that the work that I do on Win with Black Women is strictly volunteer work. It is strictly, I call it, I don't even like to call it volunteer work. It's hard work. It's hard work for myself, women that put so much into it. When you see folks like Donna Brazile or Karen Finney or Holly Holiday or Jewel Love or Sierra Johnson, so many women that you see that are doing so much to power this network. We all do it out of love, but, outside of that, we actually, I run as you mentioned, a social impact firm. I represent a number of clients, and my background, I have a background in civil rights advocacy and also in Silicon Valley. So I spent many years as a C-suite executive in Silicon Valley, where I was really focused on doing much of the work that I do now, and really helping bridge advocacy and social impact and justice work into, fast growing tech companies. And I kind of got this, I guess this persona. These magazines started calling me the Olivia Pope of Silicon
Valley. I was like, what's that about?
It was largely because, I was kind of like many sort of saw like the fictional character was someone who always wore the white hat. And I really was focused on, not only helping these companies grow and be successful businesses, but how to do so in a manner that helped bring impact along the way. How do we build a double bottom line? How can you grow a viable business with great market share, but also how do you actually drive social impact? How do you actually be more inclusive along the way? And so I did a lot of that work as a business executive in the tech ecosystem. And so that's a little bit about the work that I do. I'm an active investor in the tech industry, and I advise a large number of tech companies. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so that's what that catch C-suite means.
Yes.
I was like, okay.
I served for many years at the level of executive management of fast-growing, large-scale tech companies, and there are very few Black women in that position, and so I really, my ability to actually help, launch Win with Black Women really came out of being able to pull together women from all these various sectors of my life that I've been able to work with, whether or not it was my time in civil rights advocacy or my time in business, or some of the work that I've done in entertainment or movement building. How do I bring and really be a connector to bring women from all of those communities to a network together where we can actually drive impact together? So it all kind of
that's the beauty of life and the experiences and the cross-pollination, because it all comes together. And when you said entertainment, This is Harlem Network News. I'm Terri Wisdom, but we also do not want to forget that Jotaka Eaddy was a co-host on one of a few of the shows on OM, Sisters Talk, so you all can look back on those. So it's a collaborative of all of that. And when those shows were on, I remember when with Black women, we watched them collectively and, you know, chatted, excuse me, chatted back and forth. So extremely, extremely, extremely critical. Jotaka, can you tell people how they can get in touch with Win with Black Women and how they can be supportive and find out more of the initiatives, please?
Yes, you can find us at www.winwithblackwomen.org, and you can find more information about us. And we encourage you to follow our hashtags, hashtag Win with Black Women on all platforms. And we're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and across the country. I'm sure that you will probably find a sister that is a part of this network. And we just encourage people to lift up the content, but most importantly, to follow the issues and to lend their voices to the upliftment of these issues that are so important to our country and our nation.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all of the great work that you're doing. And this is Terri Wisdom, and this is Harlem Network News. And you can reach Harlem Network News directly at 646-261-5397, or you can reach out to us at harlemnetworknews@gmail.com. We are harlemnetworknews.com. If you have breaking news stories across the country, please reach out and share them because the information pathway is critical. If you have services or in-kind services or potential sponsors, we are also going to be having in the late fall, Harlem Network News Awards at one of our incredible venues here in Harlem. So if you have folks that you feel are deserving in the frequency of what Jotaka spoke about, please reach out to us, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Clubhouse, all of the above and below. So thank you so much, Jotaka Eaddy, for joining us. And if you want to say one closing word, something that you'd like folks to leave and remember with, please do so.
Well, I will use this opportunity to say that Brittney Griner is not yet home. Let us continue to pray, stand in solidarity with Brittney. Let us continue to echo what we all know is that Brittney deserves the best of America, that we continue to stand in support of this administration's efforts and continue to call on them to do everything that they can to make a deal to bring her home. And that we are BG. We encourage everyone to continue to lift her up and to keep her name out there. That is so incredibly important right now.
Okay, well, thank you for those very, very empowering words. And we will also be rebroadcasting this show at 8 p.m. tonight. It'll be on our YouTube channel, Harlem Network News, and go across to Facebook. And of course, it will stay up. We ask you to share this on your networks. You know, on YouTube, anybody can go look back at it, you know, even if they don't have Facebook. And you can look at our Facebook anyway. So thank you so much. And it's a great day in Harlem and the Harlems of the world. And we are so honored to have you, Jotaka Eaddy, speak to our constituency. And I'm also honored to be a member and a part of Win with Black Women. And I just thank the sister who shared Win with Black Women with me. She's one of my daughter's you know, friends from Howard University. So I'm so grateful that she let me know about this. So it's you know, such a blessing. So take care and be strong, stay strong.
Thank you.
Remember Shirley Chisholm. Harlem Network News. Have a blessed and great day.